Hi everybody, it's Joel from JST Woodcraft, and this is a part 2 of our label casting demonstration. We've got most of the stuff set up here a little bit in advance. When you're doing this, it is time sensitive. You don't have a lot of time after you start mixing the parts to really be goofing around. So I usually try to get as much of what I need ready and set up ahead of time so that I can move fairly quickly. I also want to try to get the stuff in the pot and under pressure before it starts to set up too soon. I think the thinner the Alumilite is, the smaller your bubbles and the better casting you get. I don't know. That's just me. So, anyways, we got our measuring cup here. I measure by weight, and we're going to start with our Alumilite part A. And I'm going to measure out about 0.75 ounces here. I also find if you are prepared and you start early with your pouring instead of waiting until it's set up too much, and you undermix, you can mix more real quick and save the day. Alright, so I went a little over 0.75. So we'll go to like 1.53. Alright, I think that'll do. Okay, and then we're just going to start the mixing process here. You'll notice it does get a little milky when it first starts. Good thing about that is it's a good indicator of how well you've mixed your product when the product really starts to show clear, kind of like you're seeing there. I scrape the sides and scrape the bottom a lot. You do need to be pretty precise in your mixing here. So I feel like when I'm weighing it, I have a little better margin of error than when I'm using a measuring cup and trying to measure to a line and being level and all that. But you just give it a nice good working. If you work with this long enough, you will feel the heat. It is a thermal process, so the curing generates heat, and heat helps the curing. So, all right, I think we're getting close there. About 5 to 7 minutes here. I think it's 7, but I try to shoot for 5. I like to work in a reasonable margin of error. All right, I think that looks really good. So I'm going to move the camera. And you'll see our tubes are in there. They're in the mold. They're little tubes are pressed in. The little caps into the tubes are pressed in. They're nicely seated in the mold. And now I am gonna just pour. I like to pour in here because these silicone molds, they're very flexible, and when you warm them up a little bit, you try to pick them up when it's full of resin, and they just tend to squeeze the resin out. So just nicely pouring this in, filling the void. Now you want to make sure you almost overfill it a little bit. The way this optically looks from up here to down there is a little deceiving. I overpoured that way too much, so I'll have to deal with that after the fact. But anyways, no biggie. A little extra is better than not enough. So that's that. So that's poured. Looks good in there. We're going to put the lid on the pressure pot here. All right. Get the lid tightened up. This time I'm going to try not to have the air compressor scare the daylights out of me, because once I turn this, connect this, and the air starts to flow, this tank's going to deplete my little air compressor quite a bit. So pardon the noise, I'm going to try to cut it off as much as I can. Process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this here. I'm going to adjust this a little bit so that you can see the gauge. Right there. And you'll see how this goes down. Let me grab my air hose. Alright, we're going to connect the air hose and we are going to open our valve.